Mr. Fall. More.
Hello, Lee. How
Hello.
are you?
Good. Good. I'm well, on my second cup of coffee, so I'm caffeinated. I'm good. All right, fair enough. I just had to say hi before the meeting got started. So nice to see you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. It was a little bit difficult for me to find some time for the meeting uh, because at this time I'm at work and I need to.
Yeah, get back to. We should make you the very first presenter. Then we should yeah, get
So
you.
today there is no problem. I can assist all the meeting, but maybe sometime I will have to miss some meeting also.
Oh, I see. Yeah, makes sense. Sometimes we a lot of times we'll talk about Meshery stuff on the Friday community call as well. So it's kind of a nice catch-all.
Okay.
Not that you have a life on Friday night or anything. Not that you'd be like going out on a date or doing anything else other than coding. So
Yes.
Let's wait for a couple of minutes to let the others join. And I'll share the meeting minutes. So if you haven't already, just add your name to the attendees list. I see a couple of new names here. Anyone on this call for the first time?
Yes, me. It's the first time I'm here.
Okay, more.
Yeah.
We've seen some of your work. Would you mind introducing yourself to the others?
Okay. So my name is Mor Fall, and I'm from Paris. And it's been a couple of weeks that I'm participating to the Meshery project. And as I say to Lee, it was a big dream for me to participate in an open source project and also to help people achieve great things. And I think by helping others, I will also learn a lot. Right now, I know from the community a lot of people. They are very cool. They are very gentle, and also, yeah, if I have a problem, they are here to help me.
Awesome to hear that. And we have a demo, your demo today or your work today, so that's great. And we have a couple of others more, I guess. Someone was talking before.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, Gautam.
Hi. So I'm Gautam Arora. I'm pretty much into web technologies right now and want to dive deep into DevOps and stuff. So I found Layer 5 community just yesterday. So it's very warm welcome. I appreciate that. I have had a talk with Lee about what's actually the Layer 5 community and had a reading in the documentation. I found it very interesting way to means dive deeper and learn more about DevOps. So I'm very much excited to be a part of this community and will be working on helping others and also working on myself and producing a newer version of myself so that I could means help the community. That's it.
Awesome, awesome. You are in the right place.
Thank you so much.
Any others who are on this call for the first time? If so, it would be great if you could introduce yourself. And a quick announcement, we have reached over 200 contributors on the Meshery project alone. So yeah, that's a huge milestone. So
Yeah, really. Yeah, wow. Actually, yeah, it's an interesting thing. If you all go look at the Meshery repo, it's like spot on. I think 200 individuals have committed code or documentation or something. It's interesting and appropriate to recognize that that number is a lot larger than that. It's by in two ways. One is that there's a lot of people who have contributed. They just didn't contribute code, and that doesn't mean that they're not contributing. There's a lot of people, and maybe some of you on the call, who will join and just ask questions. You'll provide feedback. You'll just listen. That all counts. Like being a stander by, and there's some folks that have been on the call, and you know what, I'm not going to look to see if they're here because I wouldn't, you know, I try to embarrass people when I can, but usually end up embarrassing myself. And I would say that there's some people who've been on the call for like a year and haven't said anything, but they consistently show up, and that's fantastic. We've chatted or other things. They just don't talk on the calls, and that's fine. They're contributing, they're being here and helping. So anyway, my point is, not only do those contributions count, so the count is a lot higher, but also there's like 40 something other repositories that people have contributed code to. And so the count is actually a lot higher than that. But anyway, really cool. Also, if you haven't started the project lately, if you haven't added a GitHub star to the repo, now's the time. I know we have a captive audience. You're not doing anything else. Navigate your little mouse cursor over to the star. Press the left mouse button to click. And you'll see your name pop up in Slack when that happens. You can learn about GitHub actions, GitHub workflows when you do. So, cool.
all right. Yeah, Lee.
I'm sorry to interrupt. There's one other individual. So Kartik 66. Kartik. Did you get a chance to introduce? Oh, Kartia. If you can, do you want to say hi and just introduce? If your audio isn't good, doing so in chat will work as well. It's just nice to say hi.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we can get started. We are almost 10 minutes in the call, and today is May 19th, and this is the Meshery development call. And we can start with the topics for today. So more, you can start with the purview command. Oh, you are on mute.
Okay, I was saying that it's the first time I assist on this meeting. So I have to share my screen, or
Yeah, you can share your screen.
okay. Where is it? Yeah.
So just for, like a little bit of context as more goes to
Yes.
present. So I think part of his focus has been on Meshery CTL and on expanding the perf command.
Yes.
Nice.
I'm just okay.
So there was an enhancement to the performance management capabilities of Meshery in the V050 release. And it was for expanding on the concept of a performance profile, which allows users to save different test configurations that they want to run and easily recall them. That ability hadn't been exposed, that new capability, that enhancement to like performance management had not been exposed in Meshery CTL just yet. And so more is working on that.
So for authorization issue, I have to reload my my Zoom.
Oh yeah,
So
sure.
you will lose me for
You'll be back.
sometimes. Yes.
Sounds good.
So like, is Piyush on? So Piyush, could you demo your perf list while we wait for more?
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So Piyush is also working on the performance command, the perf list command, and yeah, what he has been working on is to enable CRUD for performance profiles in Meshery CTL. So yes, Piyush,
Okay,
all yours.
so there are two types of user interfaces. User experience I have tried, and I need to get like feedback on that. Okay, so let's try perf list. So this is resulting all the profiles, and we can see the page number, total results. And if you press spacebar, then we will move to page number 2. And if we press Control C, we will exit from this window. That is the first kind of user experience. Then I have also tried a second kind of user experience, and that is this. I'm trying with this for resulting performance results for a performance profile, and this is the ID for that particular profile. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Few of the results are listing here, and if I press spacebar, then we move to second page, and these are the final results. That's why the command has been like called off, and we can see the results are still persisted on the screen. That is the benefit in this user experience, but there are some like I will say bugs, or the user will actually lose his ability to scroll terminal. You can see I cannot scroll the terminal. That's like a disadvantage of this user experience, and why it is happening I will try to explain. So the library that I'm using for this purpose to paginate these results is term box, and this library needs to be initialized at every like whenever I want to output something. So I'm initializing it, and this library needs to be closed at the end of all the things I want to do. This library needs to be closed, and if I am doing that, then the results will not be persisted on the screen. That is the only disadvantage, and terminal will go back to its original functionalities. Yeah, that's it. That's the issue I'm facing right now, and I want to get some feedback on which will be a better user experience.
Piyush, like, what was the disadvantage with the first UX?
First UX, see, I'm displaying it again.
Yeah.
So this opens another window, like a layer kind of in terminal, and I can paginate here, like you have already seen the GIFs. I can paginate here. And if I like this is the final page, and if I press spacebar or Control C at this page, this window will be get closed. Like this layer will be flushed out.
Okay. Okay. So like the second one is better in my opinion. That is what I was mentioning on the PR, right?
Yeah, but I realized it, I guess 20 minutes ago, that I am not able to scroll my terminal after this kind of user experience.
Hmm. Hmm. If I guess like the better of the two is the second user experience. So
Okay.
like my suggestion is that like we can go with it for now, and if there aren't any other better solutions to this,
Mm-hmm.
or like another way is to like only show a set amount of results, as we like I think we had a discussion on the PR thread, right? Only
Yes.
show a set amount of discussion, and that will ensure that you can like scroll back up and down, right?
I had a
Yeah.
query regarding the commands you're running. So normally, I mean, I would want to see these results in another file or something. So I would normally use this command with an output redirection. So how does your current implementation behave with that?
Okay, that hasn't been discussed yet, and I haven't implemented that feature along with this command.
So no,
So,
it's I'm
mhm.
sorry, like sorry to interrupt you. Just the fact that the enter spacebar to continue part, I feel might be a little I won't say redundant, but it might be a hindrance, in fact, to that output redirection. Traditional, again, anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but normally these results, to view them just like a quick glance, sure, the terminal's fine, but normally I would want to catalog them and save them in a file. So uh, I feel that this command should be created with that as a first priority rather than having spacebar to move to the next pages. Again, if anyone objects to it, please do mention.
Yeah, that makes sense for now. So yeah, that kind of like maybe another argument to like use the like to limit the number of results to a set value, so that like yeah, we can pipe the output to some other file or something. Uh,
Mhm.
The thing is, even if you limit the results to set value, here what I'm seeing is it's automatically adjusting the number of results based on the size of the terminal. Again, I'm not sure if I'm right, but um, if that's the case, then whatever work's done, I'm so sorry. You might have to look at it once again.
mm, yeah.
The
Uh,
ideal thing would be just to print out a huge list, and then like
Okay.
you have created a tabular thing. So instead of it going to the next page, just print it all
Mhm.
out in one large chunk.
Okay. The
That
thing is, Meshery API exposes at max 25 results at one time.
at a time.
I
At a
have
time.
to, yeah,
Yeah,
at a time. Then I have to traverse through another page of the results. Then I'll get the another set. So I also have set up
I
a variable
see.
for that. I think we can like use that as a flag for right now. Like limit results, I have set up to 10. The maximum is 25.
Okay, so okay, yeah, that does throw a spanner into the mix. Okay, fine.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
Pranav,
all.
it's yeah, good feedback. A couple of thoughts on that. I'm not hearing others say this. So the last piece of feedback about pagination is spot on. So like, for example, my user right now, if it were to retrieve all the results, it's a couple thousand results, which would really hammer on the server if I were to export not only just the list of results, which is a couple thousand, but also the full details of those results, which is probably what's of real interest. And so there is, there's a use case for, like, the use case for exporting all of the user's results is really probably a migratory thing, either that or they're tearing down the server and they're kind of done with it. So it's a good, okay, so there's a couple of thoughts. Like, one is that with local providers, the number of results that we would anticipate someone would have in their system is relatively less as compared to the number of results that someone might collect over time if they're using a remote provider that offers persistence. That remote provider, one of those being the Meshery remote provider. Users of the other client, the Meshery UI, they can go in and check on individual rows in the performance table to download those results there as well on an individual basis. I don't recall if there's a bulk option. I think there's a bulk option for downloading many results at one time. Still, that might be in a paginated way, in part because it's just like it's an infrequent use case probably that people want to download that many results at a given time. One thing that we could do to improve maybe the ability to output to file and to like navigate through potentially pages and pages of performance results is potentially a search. So Meshery CTL perf search, and allow someone to search across the metadata for a given performance profile and its results. And that way, they're able to export some things to potentially to file, but maybe not all of them at one time. I think the use case, like, so by the way, for everyone's edification, with respect to, there's kind of two constructs with respect to performance management. So one of them is a performance profile, which is just a set of configuration items about the test that you're going to run, what endpoint or endpoints you want to send load to, how intensely you want to do it, and for how long, and what type of traffic, that kind of a thing. That configuration, that's the profile. Now you can invoke and run that profile any number of times, and that would be the results, like a performance result. And those are what we would expect to be, quite long. Like, you might run many hundreds of tests, while you might just have like two tests, a capacity test and a soak test, something like that. And so, so that's food for thought as we think about this, like the user experience of the high level construct of looking at first the performance profile. So I might just be interested in results for my soak test, not my other profile. And so maybe there's 50 results in there and 50 results in the other one. I don't know. And so, yeah, allowing the user to, I think, search would achieve much of, like, there's a limited amount of experience that you can provide through a CLI. We do anticipate people to run Meshery in their CI pipelines and run performance tests there. The use case, by and large, like the 80% use case for users is going to be that they've got one, like, especially if they're doing this in their CI pipeline, is that they've got one or two profiles and they want to retrieve the single test that they ran for either of those profiles. So it's really like their latest profile and their latest test result, and do they have a green light or a red light to continue in their pipeline. I mentioned this use case because that's the use case that we would anticipate most people are scripting around. So if Jubril is on, I don't know that he is, but that's a great use case for the GitHub action. So Pranav, it's a little bit of a challenge because we can't hammer the server with, an endless amount of results. Plus, it's not really useful to the user to have them all exported. At least, like, it is useful, but it's not the general purpose use case. It's a special migratory thing in which case people might want to access the database or have access to the raw REST API itself and write their own scripts kind of around that. So,
So
I
the
mean,
purpose was to basically just do a quick lookup on a particular result.
yep, that's the use case by and
Okay.
large.
All right.
That doesn't mean that we don't want to facilitate the creation of a performance profile from here, which you can already do, or the lookup of one, or looking up what the configuration of one is, and then the invocation of one, and like the retrieval of the results. Those things are all possible. You can output the results to a file, but of the use case that you mentioned, like bulk output of all the results to a file, yeah, that's a good use case for either the UI client or for a remote provider. But yeah, so.
All right, the bulk output again, I was a little hesitant about that for this reason, but my main thing was, since we are what do you say, filtering or looking at a particular profile, it would still be useful to be able to do that. That was my only
To
qualm.
output to a file, they absolutely can.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's becoming standard output or
Mhm.
standard flags for output to YAML or output to JSON. That should be, if that's not in Meshery CTL now for perf, it should be. It's there for patterns already. But so that's definitely use cases to retrieve the performance results, like the full set of results for a given individual test. Oh, more. Okay, more's gotta go. But good. Yeah, good feedback.
Any other comments to Piyush? So I guess like there are some things to look into. More, are you available to look into the perfume command right now? Oh,
Yes, I have.
yeah.
5 minutes maybe. Okay, I will show you. So I have started working on the Meshery view command. So the purpose is to implement a subcommand that will permit to view a result of some performance profile. So what I have done yet is I'm able to view the performance profile as a raw text and also as a JSON. So for example, what I have done was to view performance profiles and to print it like that. And the second option was to view it as a JSON row. And yesterday I have received feedback from PU, and he told me that the profile name is not unique, and I need to use a profile ID. So right now I'm working to implement that. I think it will not be very difficult, since that I have just to ask a profile ID instead of a profile name. And also he suggests me to use a model, because in the model we have a kind of response, I think here, performance profile response. If I use this model, I think it will be better. So I think right now it is. I think I'm going to finish the work in today or tomorrow, and I will submit a new merge request with a profile ID instead of profile name, and also to refactor my code to use a struct from this model. Yes, that's it.
That looks good. The output you have currently is good. Like I have a quick question. Like, do we do we also add a like in this command? Do we also have add the ability to view the particular result, or is that a separate command? Was that in the issue?
In the issue, I think the issue was not very well stated, because in the issue they say profile name instead of profile ID, and also I'll show you. I think it's
Oh, okay. Okay, never mind. I found that. I think it's a separate issue.
yes, it's here. Yes, it in this. So in the issue they say profile name instead of profile ID, I think. And also they want this as a result: the name, the endpoint, the load generator, and the duration of the test.
Okay.
So I need to change this to profile ID. And for example, if he did not find a profile ID, maybe he will ask the user to run the command meshery perf list to get the list of all the profile, so that he can run the view command after.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. That's good. Any other feedback for more?
Pranav, keep the feedback coming. It's good feedback that you gave on that last. And it's really important that people give feedback.
Yes.
Actually, almost
I
nothing
think
feels
this
worse.
is something where you first roll it out, and then when people actually use it in their product, they will then be able to see what more they need. As of now, I'm kind of not too sure as to what more he could do or what needs to be done. That's my view. So he's done a pretty good job. I think it covers, from what I can understand, it covers what people might need as of now. Only once people start using it and implementing it, I guess more use cases would be shed light upon. So
yeah, I also agree on the same, because until unless it comes to my cluster, so I may not be able to provide some of the feedback. So once it comes, so
And then the opinions will start to flow.
yeah, because we are really like eager to use it in our production. So it really solves one, because recently we were decommissioned, or we have removed the thought of using JMeter for the performance testing. So we are adopting Nighthawk, but unfortunately it didn't work today. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of, have you provided Abhishek Kumar that feedback on Nighthawk?
Yes. He's working on this, because the test is going on an infinite loop. So
okay. Gotcha.
Okay.
By the way, Moore and Piyush, are you tracking toward the output JSON and output YAML commands for the test results?
Till now, I haven't implemented that yet. So I'll look into how I can.
Good deal. That's good.
Awesome, I guess. Then thank you more. That was
Thank you.
excellent. It was a good implementation. And see you in the next meeting.
See you. Sorry that I didn't have enough time for, but next time I will prepare for a demo or for something like that. So thank you and see you next meeting.
See you. Bye.
Thank you, more. Bye, more.
Yeah.
Next, we have Utkarsh to talk about pattern capabilities registration. Utkarsh, do you want to share your screen?
Yep. So I think I have previously demoed patterns, what patterns are. Today's demo is a recent addition in adapters that was made. It was regarding that. Earlier, what used to happen was if you would spin up Meshery, so if you are deploying it on Kubernetes or on maybe in Docker containers. So what would happen is that for some reasons, Meshery server is starting up really slow, and basically adapter are starting up quite late. Then what would happen is that adapter will try to reach out to Meshery server in order to register its capabilities, but it would actually fail because the server is just not there, and that's it. I mean, so basically the registration process would fail. So the recent addition was regarding retries. That is now now what I've done is I've started up Meshery Istio adapter, Meshery Istio adapter on my system. It's not complaining right now because behind the scenes is actually retrying the registration process. I haven't yet started Meshery server. I'm starting it up. Had this been the previous without retries implementation, what would have happened is you would have seen an ugly error here that this endpoint was just not reachable, so I couldn't register the capabilities. So let this thing come up, and you would see that as soon as the server comes up, in a while, Meshery adapter will retry the registration process, and it did. So the logs that we are getting here, these are basically the capabilities that that Istio adapter has just registered with the Meshery server. This retry is basically based on exponential backoff. That's the algorithm that we're using for retrying. And the other thing is that. So once the capabilities are registered, what we can do is we can actually run this command, Meshery pattern apply, and you can specify the YAML that you want to apply. I won't be able to, I don't think I'd be able to go into complete depth what this entire YAML is, but basically what we are doing is we are provisioning Istio service mission here, provisioning Grafana instance and provisioning Prometheus. We are also specifying the dependencies in here that Grafana should be deployed after Istio and Prometheus, and some other things like enabling MTLS, automatic sidecar injection on certain namespaces, and these kind of things. So when we go ahead and apply this pattern, this process usually takes time, but what happens behind the scenes is it creates a plan of execution. It figures out that Istio needs to be deployed first, and then Prometheus. Basically, these are dependencies that it has figured out. So Istio would be Prometheus deployed first, and once that is completed, it will go ahead and try to provision Prometheus and then Grafana. Let me show if. Let me try to show. Yeah. So I provisioned these things, and they have just recently came up. So Grafana 12 seconds, and basically all of the things that I actually asked to provision, these are provisioned now in my Kubernetes cluster. And these are the messages that I got. This is something that needs to be figured out, but yeah. And similarly, we can also run pattern apply, pattern delete, and that will basically read the same YAML and will delete the resources that were provisioned using that particular YAML. The process is exact similar. That was the process for provisioning. and now it's actually terminating the things. And the message that you would get in here is that uh, the SEO service mesh is deleted, the traits are basically removed, and Prometheus and Grafana add-on have also been deleted. So this is pretty much it.
Yeah, so one question. So here, when you are installing it through the patterns, okay, so from where exactly it get the configurations? Like if I have some configuration which is mostly user-defined configurations, not the default for Prometheus, let's say.
Okay, yeah, actually, because this instance is so patterns right now. So when I registered the traits, it had something called that it supports Grafana STO add-on and Prometheus STO add-on. And when it said that it supports STO add-on, and so when it said that it supports Grafana STO add-on and Prometheus STO add-on, so it basically meant that it's going to provision the add-on, basically the STO add-on that actually comes by default from there. So the default one. Right now, there is right now pattern doesn't have a capability of provisioning a custom Prometheus, but definitely that can be added. So it would kind of look like maybe Prometheus something, and type would be Prometheus and namespace as I say, and then maybe something like this. That is where you get in your basically place in your custom configuration. That is completely doable. It's just that we haven't reached to it yet. Patterns are flexible in that manner. That is, these internal things, they are completely dependent on the type of thing that you're trying to provision.
Okay, so this is just focused on the add-on that comes with ISTO.
Yeah, right now the capability that that we have created is only for ISTO add-on.
Okay, yeah.
But will be pervasively supported by all adapters. It'll also be, well, I don't know if I want to spoil the surprise. We'll hold off until Dhruv or Soham or somebody can demo it later about what's next for patterns. But just to clarify real quick, Samir, I missed it. Did you say that I'm assuming that you're running Prometheus as an operator separately and independently of Istio, or is the Prometheus Istio add-on what you're using?
Yeah, so we have used STO Prometheus at the beginning, but we had some challenges with configuring that. So now we moved back to operator. But what happens right now is we are not getting some STO native matrices. So that is what our challenge is.
Yeah. Okay. You're not getting some Istio native metrics from a disparate Prometheus deployment, from a separate Prometheus deployment.
Yes.
You're only getting those from the, okay. Got it. And is your sense of, yeah. That makes a lot of sense, actually, considering that some of those telemetric signals come from Envoy filters and might be squarely aimed at the Prometheus deployment in Istio control plane. So yeah. Have you, out of curiosity, I haven't tried this, but have you tried scraping the Prometheus add-on in the Istio control plane by a separate Prometheus instance?
No, that we didn't try, because what we have done is, I told earlier, we were most interested in Kiali, wherein we get the ISTO envoy related stuff, wherein we use the Prometheus for that. But what happened, so we didn't want to overload it with different instance of Prometheus. So now what we have done is we have went to Prometheus operator, which basically does the important part of cluster monitoring. So now we have a challenge to how to see all these metrics in a single place. But yes, I can try out scrapping the matrices.
Okay. to take it with a grain of salt. That was just a, off the cuff thought. Actually, quick question for you, because I spend very little time with Kiali. Is it the case that Kiali functions mostly with a Prometheus operator setup, but or does it not function at all?
So Kiali only works more very flawlessly with the add-on which comes along with ISTO add-on like Prometheus.
Cool. Got it. That's a shame. We'll have to fix that. Have to.
That is why I was highlighting if we have some sort of centrally placing everything at the beginning, so everything can be managed through Meshery CTL maybe, or the Meshery UI.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm trying not to. Totally, that's precisely the goal. Through both, through your choice is actually the goal. And when you do it through the UI, the idea is that not only can you use the form-based UI that is there today, but also a forthcoming visual topology in the UI that hasn't been released yet, but that you can, but we'll have to maybe we'll have to line up a demo for next week to show that new capability.
Okay, sure.
So any other feedback if anyone has?
Yeah, Utkarsh, do we have the emergence of so there's the emergence of a trait registry, or which is in some respects just a registry within inside of Meshery where each of these adapters, like the Istio adapter, will register its capabilities. It'll register the operations that it's capable of, so that Meshery, as sort of the central intelligence unit, so to speak, can make sure that it's invoking the appropriate operations as and when it needs to. And Meshery can determine whether or not what a user is asking it to do, like what's in this pattern file here, whether or not the adapters are capable of fulfilling the request. So that's great. Do we have the emergence of a trait tracker or a like just a simple spreadsheet that catalogs the traits that are being developed?
No, not right now. There is an endpoint which actually lists the current, basically the current available traits and traits and workloads and those kind of things. I do not remember the endpoint, but yeah, there is an endpoint which. So yeah, basically there is no documentation of the traits that we have right now. There is an endpoint which is capable of returning the same. Documentation needs to be done though.
Okay, nice. Yeah, no, and it could be, I mean, it might be the case that that might be an interesting thing for users to see inside of, I mean, obviously users will see that inside of Meshery when they go to manage a particular service mesh. They'll see all of the operations that Meshery is capable of for that given mesh. It might be an interesting view for the Meshery administrator who might be managing multiple meshes to just see a consolidated list of all those traits, all those operations.
Yeah, so this endpoint actually returns all of the traits that are currently available with basically all of the registered. These are basically all of the registered workloads that were registered with Meshery server by any of the adapter. This is because only Istio adapter is capable of processing things right now. So this is only coming from Istio, but basically it could be from anywhere. This is just from it is basically retrieving the data right now from the registry that Meshery server has. So right now it's listing of the workload definitions that is available, And if you would send the say, on the trait, you would get the trait. I don't think this is available. Yeah, it's not. But there are two endpoints, the traits, and you can get all the traits that are available. You can get all the workload definitions, and maybe soon scope definitions also. It's just that we don't use scope definitions right now, so they are not available. But yeah.
And one general question. So there are two options on Meshery to install Grafana and Prometheus. Are those from SDO add-ons or are those the operators?
In the UI?
Yes.
Yeah, but you go.
They're the Istio add-ons, but it is possible to deploy either of the Grafana or the Prometheus operator through the same UI. It's not as convenient because there isn't a switch button for there isn't a toggle button for it. But what you would end up doing is pasting in the manifest for the Prometheus operator into the custom.
Because let's say some of other service mesh doesn't support that add-on, so maybe they are using those service meshes in their cluster. So will that be still valid to use those kind of plug and play?
Right. Yeah. Right. I think that is valid. As a matter of fact, I think let's assume that Istio didn't have a challenge exposing some Istio specific metrics to external Prometheus instances. Let's say that was you would be using the Prometheus operator today if that was the case. And so in the past, the project has been compatible in that way. And I think desires to be so. So I guess what I'm saying is the general paradigm of those deployments is to use a separate operator. And so to your point, that's a good suggestion that perhaps Meshery as a tool concerned with metrics in general for service meshes at large, perhaps it should support the deployment of the most popular Prometheus operator as a first class thing. Yeah, because at some point it will have to, as it goes to manage multiple meshes at the same time, it may not have a single, it might have a single Prometheus instance to speak to, but it might have multiple disparate instances, some that are tracking some metrics, some that are tracking others. And it definitely needs a way of mapping what metrics are pertinent to, and what charts to show pertinent to a given mesh versus a different one. And it needs to do that. It needs to not only suggest that intelligently to the user based on the service mesh that they're administering at the time, but it also needs to allow individual users to identify the charts that are of interest to them, persist the fact that, and so it does do that second part today. It does let a user identify what charts are of interest. I think the challenge that where Meshery needs to expand is in a couple of areas, and I'll describe them later so that other people can demo. So we don't. So Navendu, what do we have next?
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Yeah, so the next item is we have some open issues on Meshery CTL docs. So there are a lot of issues, and these are good first issues. And I know there are some newcomers on the call, so feel free to comment on one of these issues, and you can get assigned to them. So basically the issue is that we have a docs website for Meshery, and it's in docs.meshery.io, and we have a command reference for Meshery CTL, and it can be found here. So yeah, that's this page, and so it basically gives a documentation for each of the Meshery CTL commands, and each of these commands, subcommands, will have an individual documentation page, and as you can see, some of the commands are missing, and the issues are opened up to fill in these missing commands. So you will be creating a page similar to this, and so if you are interested in getting started with Meshery, this might be a good place to start. So you will need to go through Meshery CTL and test it out to write these documentation. So it will be a good place to start. And these pages are written using Jekyll. So if you know Jekyll, then you can easily like fix couple of these issues. And yes, I guess that's it from my part. And these issues can be found in the meeting minutes. So yeah. Any comments?
For next week, it sounds like we might have a couple of topics to prepare for. Potentially one of those, Drew, if you don't mind, maybe taking back to the mesh map call a request for demo of importing a pattern and visualizing it. So I think that might be of interest to Samir and maybe some others. So that might be a next week thing. Another one that might be a next week thing is Pranav and Rudraksh and a couple of others have been steadily advancing. Well, Gaurav and others have been steadily steadily advancing the filter management capability, the WebAssembly filter management capability for Envoy-based data planes. So Istio being one of those, and Console and the list, and Kuma and a list of others, that Meshery will ultimately manage the dynamic loading, unloading, and configuration of filters in those data planes. And so if we can, I'd like to hold ourselves accountable to trying to make part of those conversations a little more mainstream, because Pranav kept his faith and was working as a solo individual trying to build up momentum in that area, and we have. And so there's now kind of filter commands that are coming out from Meshery CTL. There's new CRUD endpoints for filters in Meshery Server and in Meshery Cloud. And so if we can.
So could I add something to what you were saying there? Currently, the thing is that something that I'm noticing, and I'm pretty sure it's my incapability of also coordinating too well, but like a lot of us are sort of scattered in a lot of places, and now that finally my college has sort of said that okay, your final exams it's going to be postponed indefinitely or something of that sort, I'll be able to spend more time. My only concern is that since there are like 2 or 3 people working on a particular aspect, and since it sort of has a chain reaction, we sort of need a system. I'm aware that the design document is of course really, really important, but we need a more I guess a real-time system to coordinate our requirements and needs. Last meeting, what we discovered was that each of us have a certain responsibility to each other, so we need to work we're just a group of 4 people, so we need to work with each other on our respective problems. And I just wanted to know if you had any suggestions to help coordinate that a bit better.
One of those is in the design spec, a small table that identifies the various areas, various individuals in various areas that they're working on, but also the various areas that aren't being worked on is one part of that. The other part is beginning to outline an epic and a set of child issues within GitHub that encapsulate kind of the full set of full scope of work. And then while GitHub is a far cry from a project management system, it helps. Yep, it might, Pranav, it's not out of the question that also that maybe there's the need for a dedicated meeting to this particular topic. It will be a top level feature set, if you will. Like, so Meshery will do performance management, service mesh management, filter management. Like it'll be, and so it'll be deep, I guess is what I'm saying. So that might be appropriate. It might be something to solicit some interest on in the WASM Slack channel and see if, I mean, I think I'd probably be up for either meeting or other suggestions other than a table in the design spec.
So the thing is, I don't have a table of sorts, but we have already made a list of responsibilities and what each of us are responsible for. And Gaurav was missing, unfortunately, for that meeting. And I'm sort of in the dark as to what exactly he's been quietly digging away at. Hopefully, I'm fixing that tomorrow as I set up a meeting with him, and I'll update the docs accordingly. But I guess a weekly meeting or a bi-weekly meeting would be a huge help, because it'll just keep like let us realign our goals and like just keep us all in sync with each other. So yeah,
makes sense to me. Yeah, let's good. Let's coordinate. Let's do it. Yeah, it's we've hit that juncture. There's
And one last generic question. So, is it possible for envoys WASM to manipulate the headers when it comes to envoy proxy?
yeah, I can do whatever you want with the thing. So it again depends on the filter. So
okay. So is there any demo which has been recorded so far? So
a demo that has been recorded. Okay, I'm I'm sorry, Lee. I forgot to record the demo. So like I haven't really okay, so this is more sort of intercepting the current filter that I have worked on. Just intercepts it and then increments it's from its own store. It doesn't actively take a look at the incoming header, do a packet inspection, change the contents and rebuild the packet and send it. That is something we haven't done yet, but it is quite interesting, and we'll be sure to take a look at that.
Because we have a requirement of manipulating headers when it comes from a particular JWT token and pass it on to the next level. So
right. All right, so the thing is, sure, we'll definitely explore more on the filter aspects, because one important thing, of course, is to build up the filter library. And yeah, we'll keep that in mind. So is it possible to like make a note of it somewhere or leave an issue on Image Hub or sorry, the WASM filter repo? So over there, if you leave a request, we'll take a look at it.
yes, I'll do that. I'll go on the demo first if I can figure out something.
Yeah, currently there is a issue with the demo not working, and I have a meeting with Abhishek today to try to get it working with the latest adapter. But do try with an older version. I've been told that it does work. 5.1 if you use the adapter version. So
yeah, unfortunately I'm not yet successful to run Meshery due to some
okay.
because the operators are not properly getting up. So Abhishek is tirelessly working on that. So he's helping a lot. So yeah.
Like you can get Image Hub working for by just applying that gateway manifest manually using kubectl.
Yes, I did try that,
Like
but
in the
the
Meshery.
operator is not properly working due to some kind of airbag issues. But those airbag is not exactly
Oh.
created by me, so it is something by the AKS clusters.
Okay.
I apologize for interrupting, but Rudraksh, perfect timing. I'm going to. Are you free at around 10 o'clock?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna invite you along with Abhishek.
Sure.
Awesome. I guess we are quite over time. Just to recap from we had a bug hunting session this Saturday to hunt some bugs on Meshery CTL, and we have opened up a lot of issues for that, and yeah, and we also have a test plan to check all the and we use this as a guide to test Meshery CTL out and Meshery out. And yeah, it was a productive meeting, and yeah, that's the update. And there are a lot of issues open, and you can jump on it anytime. I guess that's the end of today's call. I guess we will meet this Friday on the community call. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Bye.
or briefly, just to not to, and there's the newcomers call on Thursday as well. And then the CI meeting on Thursday as well, for those that are into DevOps and GitHub workflows. Nice.
Yep.
And apparently a filters meeting bi-weekly coming up. So
Bye, guys.
thank you, Devendu.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.